Welcome. I would like to welcome you to episode 485 of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. Here at the Unpopular Podcast, and I'm going to ask you to agree with me. I'm asking you to hear me out. A lot of this episode, I'm going to be focused on Allstar Weekend. Most of this episode, I'm going to be focused on Allstar Weekend. And the interesting thing about Allstar Weekend, because if you're anything like me, I'm a basketball fan. Basketball is my favorite sport. Basketball is my first love when we talk about sports in the sports realm. Obviously, if you watch, or look at social media, it's a lot louder than what I'm going to say. But this year, in my opinion, was by far the worst All-Star weekend we have ever had. And I have a lot of thoughts on it that I want to give. I mean, I have a football topic, but this is mainly going to be centered around All-Star Weekend. And the interesting part about this is the issues that I have with All-Star, or let me say it like this. There's a lot of issues with All-Star Weekend, and we're going to talk about them. But while there are some similarities, I see different issues with the Friday-Saturday slate of All-Star Weekend compared to the issues that I see on Sunday in the All-Star game. So let me first start with the overall arch of All-Star Weekend. I've talked about this. People have talked about this. All-Star Weekend used to be the highlight of the NBA season. Outside of, obviously, NBA Finals and playoffs, people looked forward to All-Star Weekend. They look forward to the money that it generated in whatever city it's going, from people like Nike to Adidas to a lot of clothing brands. All-Star Weekend was huge, especially for whatever city it landed in that year. And the one thing that All-Star Weekend did that the NBA struggled with, especially back then, was it allowed players and it allowed the NBA to reach a broader audience. Meaning, there's a lot of players and a lot of fans, let me say, that wasn't able to see a lot of players due to, cable and whatever their TV provider would allow. They wouldn't be able to get to see a lot of the stars that was showcased in All-Star Weekend. There's a lot of people that wasn't able to see a Larry Bird. There's a lot of people that wasn't see, even though, people consider him the GOAT, and he might be. I'm not having that argument. But there was a lot of people in the United States and the world that wasn't able to see Michael Jordan on a regular basis. So what All-Star Weekend did was it put all the stars in one place for you, allow the fan that isn't able to access these stars, it allowed them to access at least once for the season. And over time, obviously, it grew to the spectacle that it became. And you have the three-point contest, you have the slam dunk contest, now you have the skills challenge. All-Star Weekend has grown into something that should still showcase the best parts of the NBA. Now, obviously, things are different when we talk about social media, when we talk about cable providers and internet, streaming. It's a lot easier to access these players now. But still, All-Star Weekend has the ability to highlight the best that the NBA has. And for the longest, that's what they've been trying to do, and that's been the focus of All-Star Weekend. In the beginning, it was to allow people that didn't really get to access a lot of these stars, it allowed them to at least see them in one place. Now it's more about, let's show the best that the NBA has. And I started this by saying, not only was this the worst All-Star Weekend I feel we've ever had, or I don't know about ever, I feel I've seen in my lifetime, this was probably the worst. But there's a lot of issues that I don't see changing. You see, this was probably one of the first years where you saw the NBA really throw a lot of stuff at the wall, and almost none of either it didn't hit or the execution was bad. I remember they tried to do a couple years ago, they tried to do the little love game thing or the little love thing with Steph Curry and Aisha Curry. That was a one and done. It was bad. But you saw that they're desperate. That's the overarching theme of this episode. Desperation from the NBA. And how even though the NBA is desperate, there's literally nothing the NBA as a unit can do. I also said, and I also started this by saying that while there are similar issues that we're going to talk about throughout the show, there are different issues. There are also differences issues-wise that I have with the Friday-Saturday slate compared to the Sunday All-Star game. When we talk about Friday, Saturday, what Friday, Saturday is supposed to do is it's supposed to highlight the up and coming stars. It's supposed to highlight. It's supposed to be the fun. It's like a carnival, right? The Friday, Saturday slate is the carnival games. Some of the smaller rides. That's how you can look at Friday, Saturday. When you have the celebrity game, when you have the Rising Stars Challenge, when you have, 3-point contest, slam dunk. That's supposed to be the mini games. That's supposed to be the throw the ring and hope it catches the bottle so you can get yourself a prize, or throw the baseball and knock down the pins and you get a prize. That's what Friday and Saturday is supposed to feel like. And honestly, for the most part, the NBA successfully did that this year. While again, I still have my gripes, Friday and Saturday didn't feel as bad as it used to. Now, we'll talk about Saturday in a second when we talk about, slam dunk and everything. But Friday it didn't feel like the NBA. I'm not going to say it was going in a bad direction, but it didn't feel like it was going. It felt like it was just doing what it did. Oh, man. I'm trying to gather I have my thoughts. I'm trying to turn my thoughts into words. I'm trying to turn my thoughts into a way that can successfully show that while I don't feel the NBA hit its mark on the Friday-Saturday slate, I don't think it failed either. The celebrity game was cool. I've had my gripes with this since they started it. The celebrity game is supposed to be for essentially non-basketball celebrities. Kai Cenat was in it. Drewski was in it. Kevin Hart played a couple years ago. J. Cole's played in it. Commons played. It's supposed to be for the non-basketball players. And while I don't believe the NBA is intentionally doing this, and I honestly don't think, I may be looking too much into it. Let me first say that before I continue. I may be looking too much into it. But I absolutely hate the fact that there are WNBA players in the celebrity game. This year, it was Rakia Jackson, and I think it was somebody else. In past years, it's been Jewel Lloyd. I absolutely hate that the WNBA players are in the celebrity game. And again, I admit that I may be looking too much into it. But it feels like you're lessening the game, or you're minimizing the importance. You're minimizing the skill of the WNBA by putting them in a game with players that essentially are not basketball players. Nobody would look at Drewski and Kai Cenat and think to themselves, oh, they're probably good basketball players. My thing is that obviously you have retired NBA players, like I think Baron Davis played this year. But why do you have it? Just to me, it lessens the product or it either intentionally or unintentionally lessens the product that is the WNBA when you put them on a court. When you put Rickea Jackson, who was a sensational rookie last year, you're putting her on the same court as Kai Cenat. Jewel Lloyd is on the same court as Common or Wale. It kind of makes me think, and it kind of shows that while we want to prop the WNBA up as its own league, as the best of the best when we talk about women basketball players, we also view them lesser because we're going to put them and we're going to invite them. We're not going to invite them to the All-Star game. We're not going to invite them to the three-point contest. We're not going to invite them to, the skills competition. What we're going to do is we're going to put them in the celebrity game. I don't know, man. Again, I might be looking at this too deep, but I hate watching WNBA players in the celebrity game because I feel they're better than that. Rickea Jackson had the easiest 16 points I've ever seen because she is one of few players that not only are current active basketball players in a professional league, but she's pretty good at it. Yes, I know Baron Davis was there, but Baron Davis is a retired basketball player. So, that's a gripe that I had with the celebrity game. But overall, the celebrity game is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be quirky. It's supposed to be a game that you're not really supposed to take seriously. I understand that, which again also puts into perspective, why are you putting the WNBA players in a game that literally is for fun and games? I don't know, but I don't think they missed the mark outside of what I just talked about with the Friday. But let me talk to Saturday. I'm going to talk about this more in depth when we talk about Sunday. But yes, the All-Star Weekend is supposed to be about showcasing stars. So if your stars don't do the event, while the NBA still has really good players, but again, All-Star Weekend is supposed to be highlighting stars. So when you see what you see in the slam dunk contest, and then directly after you have, I think uniformly recognized as the best dunker in the NBA in Ja Morant, tweet, I think I want to, this slam dunk contest making me want to participate. And then you go and you add Aaron Gordon, who's been in it multiple times, who's considered one of the best dunkers in the NBA, and Zach LaVine, who's won it multiple times, that's widely considered one of the best dunkers. When they say, let's run it back, that's not a good look. Because it's like, where were you? That's one. We're going to talk about Bron in a second, but that's one thing that people have killed LeBron about majority of his career. You're one of the best in-game dunkers, But you have said that you want to do the slam dunk contest, but you've never done it. It's like, and then I just don't understand the allure of after the fact saying, you know what, we're gonna do it next year, because I think John Morant did this last year. So it's like you're supposed to showcase your best players, and I'm not saying they have to do it every year, right? But when you have a 3-point contest and you don't have Steph Curry in it, you don't have Klay Thompson, you don't have someone like I don't know, someone like a CJ McCollum, is like, what are we doing? You have a slam dunk contest and you don't have Ja Morant, you don't have a Zion Williamson, you don't have a Aaron Gordon or a Zach LaVine. Again, I understand that you don't have to do it every year, but again, this is like the second year where after the slam dunk contest, you have Ja Morant talking about, yeah, man, we're gonna do it next year, and it doesn't happen. I think the NBA, especially when we talk about the slam dunk contest, and you see who participated, you have Stephon Castle, you have Matt McClung, you have Andre Jackson, I believe his name is, from the Bucks, and I don't particularly know how to pronounce homie's name from the Bulls. But you have 4 people in the slam dunk contest, which kind of shows that you struggled with finding participation in the league. I will say congratulations and shouts out to Matt McClung for being the first player in All-Star slam dunk history to three-peat. And he had some incredible dunks, hopping over the Kia, he dunking 2 balls, hopping over Evan Mobley. He had some great dunks. Hitting the ball on the top of or in the front of the rim and then dunk. Matt McClung deserved to win his 3rd straight. But here's my proposal. If you're not going to get the stars, now I understand that you're probably not going to get the same amount of viewers, but you're going to get a different type of viewer. If the stars aren't going to do it, you had 4 participants in the slam dunk contest. That's not good. I think that's the first time in a while I've seen 4 participants in the slam dunk contest. When you have incredible dunkers like who's a great dunker? He's hurt, but you have Jonathan Kuminga. When you have Derek Jones, when you have some Shaden Sharp, you have some incredible dunkers in the league. For you to only be able to get 4 players and one of them is a G Leaguer, that's an issue. But it goes back to my proposal. While Stephon Castle had a great slam dunk performance, he did pretty good. Obviously, why he won 3 straight. Matt McClung was the star of all of Saturday night. This is the first time in a while I think we left Saturday night feeling like the thing that's talked about the most is actually the slam dunk contest. That's what it used to be for a while, which is why it was always the marquee event, always the last event. But for the last few years, it may be because of where the NBA is going, it's been a 3-point contest, last year, 2 years ago, it was Steph Curry going against Sabrina Descu. And it didn't help the NBA that Sabrina Descu actually beat out, or her final score was better than the eventual winner at that year, which was Damian Lillard. It was better than his final round, but I digress. This is the first time in years that I think the best part of Saturday was the slam dunk contest, and that was solely because of Matt McClung. If you're going to struggle, NBA, if you're going to struggle with having NBA talent or finding NBA talent to agree to do these festivities, make it a showcase. Make it a showcase. Bring in the best dunkers in the world. Doesn't have to be just the NBA and G League. I understand that obviously this is NBA All-Star, but bring in some of the best dunkers, because that kind of brings on another issue. Look, as a person that can't dunk, it's tough. Like, how many times it's hard being creative, which I understand why some people are very apprehensive when it comes to doing the slam dunk contest. It's hard. And it's like, what exactly do I can't, a lot of times these athletes can't do. We've seen damn near all the dunks. In fact, most of the dunks that have not been performed that I've seen have been performed by people that are not in the NBA. Just because you're in the NBA, and which means that you are amongst the best basketball players in the world, doesn't mean that you have a cheat code and you're the best at everything. So if you're the NBA and you're having trouble getting someone to do the slam dunk contest or getting someone to do the 3-point contest, bring in professional dunkers and showcase them. You're talking about a product here. I understand that it's the NBA All-Star, but the NBA part of it is lacking. Which goes to the 3-point contest. Bro, again, I'm not saying Steph Curry or Klay Thompson, who in my opinion are the best three, or Kevin Durant, should do it every year. But if you have, and no offense to him because these are great basketball players, but in what world should a Cade Cunningham be in a 3-point contest when you have Devin Booker, when you have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, KD, all better 3-point shooters than him, might I add, but they're not in it. I understand Devin Booker's done it and he's won it, but like still. And don't get me started on those skills thing. And then you got Chris Paul and Wemby cheating. Like, oh God. I think the biggest issue about Saturday is not only the fact that you're having a tough time getting the stars to participate, but the creativity just isn't there. Not because they're unable to do it, but because what else can you do? We do this every year. And again, there are some professional dunkers that are not in the NBA that I've seen have incredible dunks. Why not bring them in? Because, again, the best thing about All-Star Weekend, at least the Saturday slate, was Matt McClung, who is not really even in the NBA. He's in the G League. Now, I understand that there's a G League All-Star and whatever, but bring in professional dunkers. Bring in shooters. Bring in people that think that they can beat the NBA, beat NBA players. Bring in someone that says, I feel like I'm the best 3-point shooter, and have him or have her go up against the best NBA 3-point shooters, and let's see what happens. It's just, at some point, bro, I understand you're throwing stuff to the wall, but what you're throwing at the wall ain't sticking. Which brings me to Sunday. The unfortunate part about all this is this was the last time that TNT is going to have Obviously, this is the last season that TNT, as we know it, has the NBA. So this is the last All-Star game, and obviously they made it known there was a heavy dose of Ernie, Charles, Shaq, Kenny, Candace Parker. It was a heavy dose of that, which rightfully so. They're pioneers in the game. Everyone loves inside the NBA. But this was the absolute worst All-Star game, All-Star Sunday I've ever seen. Let's talk about some of the reasons why. Let me first actually talk about how we got here, because I've talked about this before. Right now, you have a war going on with media personality, with the NBA and its players when we talk about how we got here. That also shows that the media personalities, the NBA, and the players know that the product that they're putting on is well below standard. But you have the NBA and media saying, no, this is strictly on the players. The players is why the All-Star game continues to fail year after year after year, and why that we, in my opinion, saw the worst All-Star game we've ever seen this year. And that's beating out last year that we saw a team have 200 points. But then you have the players saying, yeah, well, why do you keep changing the format? Or how are you going to force me to play hard when there's no incentive, when it just benefits you? It doesn't benefit us the same way that it did back in the day, because now we have social media, we have YouTube, we have our own channels, we have our own podcast. People can access us, the players, much easier now and much more frequently now than they were able to back in the day, which is why you started All-Star Weekend. So there's really no benefit. In fact, there's no benefit for me, because what if I get hurt? Hell, Kobe broke his nose in the All-Star game. Dwayne Wade got hurt one year in the All-Star game. It's like, what if I get hurt and drastically changes? We don't care about All-Star Weekend. We're all we didn't get to the NBA to be an All-Star MVP or to have the best All-Star game possible. We got to the NBA to try to win a championship. And I will say, as a person from the outside looking in, both are correct. This is not a one-sided thing. Both the NBA and the players have something to do with the product that we're seeing. I talk about this all the time. I've said this before about the All-Star game. I said this about Unrivaled in a great way, but I say this a lot, and it is true. When you are a organization and you're hoping that the best way to get your product out is from somebody else's effort, that's always a slippery slope. Because if the person that's supposed to be showcasing your product doesn't care, it's going to show in the product. And the players have shown time and time and time again that they don't care about the All-Star game. I said that Giannis said it. You can't force a player to play hard. In fact, that was a theme a lot of times in the interviews that we saw all through All-Star Weekend. Whether it was Victor Wembanyama saying he wants to play hard. He's not there to make friends. He's there to showcase that he's amongst the best. When you heard Damian Lillard talk about it, you heard Trae Young talk about it, you heard Draymond Green blasting it a lot of times on the feet. Like, if the players or the people that you put into power don't take it seriously, then it's going to fail, no matter how hard you try for it to succeed. And the NBA players don't care about it at all. There's no incentive to care about it. I know that people say these are millionaires. These are millionaires. You shouldn't have to have a money incentive. And I understand your thinking. I understand your settlement. But if you want to save things, sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. And as we've seen, millionaires have played hard as hell for $500K when we talk about the in-season tournament, which, might I add, has been good for the NBA these last 2 years. Well, if you want these players to play hard, make it a money incentive. Did you see, obviously it's on a different level and a different thing, did you see how hard the women played in the one-on-one tournament in the Unrivaled because there was a money incentive? Mind you, every single woman in Unrivaled plays in the WNBA. So if they get hurt in Unrivaled, it's going to affect the WNBA. But because they were playing for money, they're trying to win. Shouts out to Nafisa Collier for winning the one-on-one tournament for Unrivaled, but they were playing hard. It has been proven now for years that the players don't care about All-Star Weekend. And it kind of goes now the NBA's problem. You keep throwing things at the wall. You keep doing like a street style, and you have team captains, which was actually pretty cool. One year you had Steph and LeBron. One year you had LeBron and KD. That was pretty cool. One year I think you had Giannis and Bron. That wasn't an issue. Again, the issue was the players don't care about it, so they don't play defense. The issue wasn't, oh, this format's not working. No, it's just the players don't care. Then you had, no, we're going to go back to East and West. But the issue with that is most of the All-Stars, most of the top-tier All-Stars play on the West. So you're going to feel like it's not balanced, which essentially isn't, but we're not really here for balance. We're here for star power. But that didn't work. You stopped that. Not because it didn't work. It's because the players don't play defense. They don't care. And then you had this format this year where you have the Rising Stars. You have teams, Team Kenny, Team Chuck, Team Candace Parker, Team Shaq, which was essentially, and then you Candace Parker, I think she had the Rising Stars, so the people that played on Saturday, the Rising Stars game, they play against the OGs, which was Team Shaq. You had, Steph, KD, James Harden. And then you Team Kenny was, I believe, the Young Stars. Like you had, who was on Kenny's team? Even though he's not young, you had Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, And I think Team Chuck was the foreign team, overseas team, global team. So you had Victor Wembanyama, you had Shea, you had what's his name? Jokic. Giannis was on that team, I think, even though he didn't play because he was hurt. We're going to talk about that in a second. But this format was terrible. And I'm not saying it was terrible because of just the format, but the execution. Bro, oh, man. I don't know how many times you're going to stop and do I get it. You're trying to showcase the best of the best. You're trying to showcase the Bay. You realize they very rarely showed any crowd shots because there really wasn't many people in the crowd. But it's like you stop the game halfway through to do a inside the NBA tribute. You have a dude, shouts out to homie. You have a guy come in to try to win actually he did essentially win $100,000 shooting against Damian Lillard halfway through the week or halfway through the event. Like it just doesn't make sense. I think somebody on Twitter did it. There was more stoppage time and commercial time than there was actual events happening. That's an issue. It was boring. That's a problem. And the biggest thing and the most unfortunate thing about this is this was the last time TNT will be doing the All-Star game, and they went out like this. This was not a good product in the slightest. And this is yet another year. Shouts out to Team OGs. Steph won All-Star Game MVP. That was his second one. You saw a little bit more because teams went to 40. But this was yet another year where the players just didn't care. And there was not a better example than players not caring than what we saw from Anthony Edwards and LeBron James. More specifically, LeBron James. Anthony Edwards was on the Young Stars team, the Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns team. And it was weird because he didn't we saw him doing the interviews. You saw him during the All-Star game practice that they have on Saturday. But he didn't play in the game. So we're like, yo, what's going on? This is the Stars. Your best player was Anthony Edwards. And then it turns out he had a groin injury. Oh, no, he had some type of injury and didn't play. I was like, what? Oh, okay. Why not disclose that instead of just not playing him? And we didn't find out until after the game. That was a little weird. But LeBron James was the worst. LeBron James was by far the worst. LeBron James came out, I believe, on Saturday. No. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. LeBron came out, I think, 30 minutes before the whole Sunday festivities started. You know, where the players are taking the pictures in their jerseys of the team. LeBron James came out and said, you guys aren't going to see me play because I've had a lingering, I think, ankle and leg injury. I think the key word in that whole thing is lingering, meaning it's been there for a minute. So for the life of me, I can't understand why, if you're LeBron James, you're still going to be pronounced an all-star. Even if you don't participate, your all-star campaign is still a thing because you were an all-star. You just could not participate due to injury. Why would you not tell them, yo, I can't do this? Why would you not back out and allow someone like Norman Powell, allow someone like Domantas Sabonis, allow them to be all-stars? It just didn't make it. Was the biggest slap in the face, not only to the NBA, but to the whole All-Star in general, because the face of the league, arguably the best player ever, didn't even care enough to let you know ahead of time that he was injured. On top of that, you see Giannis was injured too. Giannis came, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago that Giannis came out and said, or it came out that he wasn't going to be able to participate because he's injured, which is why Trae Young was his replacement. But you still saw Giannis participating. And what I mean participating, he still showed up. He still put the jersey on. He still took the pictures. He still did the interviews. He still was all over All-Star Weekend. LeBron was there. LeBron didn't take the picture with the jersey. He didn't take off his street clothes at all. even to take the team picture, and then he told him like 30 minutes before, yeah, I'm not going to play. If that isn't the biggest indictment on All-Star Weekend, I don't know what is. That is your best, the face of your league, arguably the greatest player of all time, saying, I don't care enough about this to even let y'all know, to even bring a replacement. Norman Powell, that would have been his first All-Star game. And he had an All-Star-like season. Jalen Green. Like, you didn't care enough to say, y'all gonna figure it out. That's crazy. I think there's only one thing that can save All-Star Weekend. And as unfortunate as it is, I don't think that one thing is going to happen. I want to, again, for the second time this segment, because this has been going for 40 minutes now, I want to say, again, shout out to Unrivaled. The execution, there are some things that they can work on execution-wise as far as the product. But this is their first year. This is the inaugural year. So obviously there are going to be some kinks. There are going to be some things that they can do better. They did a one-on-one tournament. And while again, I think the execution in between the games could have been better. The games were the one-on-one games were exciting. Everyone loves a one-on-one. And you heard the women talk about it. You have to put your pride aside. You have to put your ego aside. Or I'll say this, your pride's on the line, your ego's on the line. You better play hard or you're going to get exposed. I think the only thing that's going to save All-Star Weekend is something brand new that people want to see. They don't want to see you bouncing a ball into a net and trying to shoot a three when there's a wind chime in front of your face. They want to see the best players play you know what it is? They want to see the best players act like they care about something. And I promise you, the best players are not going to care about the All-Star game more. Even if you have a money incentive, they're not going to care about the All-Star game more than they're going to care about their pride and their ego. And what's the best way to challenge both? One-on-one tournament. Get Anthony Edwards in there. Get Kevin Durant. Get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Get Steph Curry. Get Kyrie Irving. Get the NBA's best players into a one-on-one tournament. Have $1 million prize at the end. I guarantee you, you will not have to worry about wondering if they care or not. Look at the women. Jackie Young, who was injured, went out there and played. The last two was Aaliyah Edwards and Nafisa Collier, and obviously Nafisa Collier won. But you had Jewel Lloyd playing. You had Enrique Agunawale play. They had Breonna Stewart play. Breonna Stewart is widely considered one of the best, if not the best player, one of the best players in the WNBA. She lost her first game. So what I'm saying is, get some of the best. You want to throw Cade Cunningham in there? Get Cade Cunningham. You are going to see competition at a level, not even, and I promise you, the thing is, you think you're going to see competition because of money. No, you're going to see competition because nobody wants to get embarrassed out here. And that could happen if you lose 11-0. That could happen if you lose 11-2. And it's still All-Star, so you still make it you still make it a thing. It's still fun and games. But, boy, I think you have to bring in, either you bring in something new that people are asking for, or you keep doing what you're doing. And obviously what you're doing I'm not the only, this is me talking, obviously. But I am voicing my concerns, but these aren't just my concerns. But again, shouts out to the NBA for All-Star Weekend. I want to talk about something that I hate. And I'm going to go over to the NFL for a second. I've talked about this before, but I feel like I need to talk about it again, and I want to talk about it again. The free agency, NFL, the season's over. You have a bunch of free agents, where they're going to go, where they're not going to go. And I think today or tomorrow, the free agency market opens. The franchise tag market opens. Each team is allotted a certain number of franchise tags that they can franchise tag a player. Meaning you can pay them whatever the franchise tag is, but you essentially can stop a player from going somewhere at a certain price. But there's no guarantees. Like, you can get hurt and you're just paid for that season. Is it? You can get traded. It is what it is. And I've talked about this before, but I will reiterate. I absolutely hate the franchise tag. Because the franchise tag is a perfect example of how the league, the NFL, cares way more about their teams than the players. Because the franchise tag, you can say, well, what do you mean? The players get 60, 50, whatever $million for that year. And while, yes, that's good, we're talking about the most physically grueling sport in North American sports. You're telling me that. What do you think a player wants more? I'll ask you that. Do you think a player wants a year's worth of money and nothing else? Or do you think a player wants security? Do you think a player wants to know that a team has their back if something foreseen happens? This perfectly. Remember Earl Thomas and how that whole situation ended in Seattle? Earl Thomas was trying to hold out, and because they weren't trying to give him a contract, so they franchise tagged him, and he was pretty much forced to play. And he broke his leg, which the team was off the hook after that year. Remember how he left the field? What he did to the team when he left the field? If you don't know, go look it up. The franchise tag is the biggest example of, we only care about you because you are good at your job. You're one of the best at your job. Or we can't find anybody else that can do what you do or close to the production that you give. But we really don't care about you because we're not going to give you guarantees. We're not going to give you long-term security. You're only here to benefit us for now, and because you don't want to play at the price that we feel you are worth. I know there's other teams that feel that you're worth more, but because we don't want to get rid of you because you benefit us, in the same breath, we don't want to pay you what you feel you're worth. Let's hit you with that franchise tag. That's why after franchise tag, that ruins the relationship between you and the player. There are some players that don't mind it, but trust and believe nobody wants to play on a franchise tag, bro. Which brings me to T. Higgins. T. Higgins has been very vocal on wanting a long-term contract, to the point where he was holding out last year, majority of the offseason and training camp, to the point where we said we think we've seen the last of T. Higgins in a Cincinnati Bengals uniform, because they were not trying to pay him, nor were they trying to play Jamar Chase, nor were they trying to play Trey Hendrickson. And instead of letting him go, you franchise tag him. Or reports are he's likely going to be franchise tagged, which now you essentially hamper his ability to go anywhere else. So you know how good I am, but you don't want to pay me what you feel I'm worth. But you want to pay me a franchise tag, allowing me no guarantees. But what happens? But if I get hurt, it's easy to get off me. You see the issue here? This is controversial to say, but I really don't care. I don't think it's a coincidence that the two organizations, or the two companies, the NBA, the NFL, that are predominantly African American, are also the two leagues that have a very strict salary cap. This is also yet another example of how you're telling me you don't care about these players. You care more about the teams. The fact that the NFL logo is a shield instead of a player, like the NBA. You know. Yes, I think the NBA has some problems with their contracts and how some players have more power than others. I think that's an issue. But how are you going to franchise like, he's already stated, if you're not going to pay him long term, you don't want to be there. You then turn around and franchise tag him. That was the issue with Washington and Kirk Cousins for as long as they franchise tagged him, 3 times? Insane. I hate it, man. But I wish the best for these players. I really do. So, lastly, before we go, we have the unpopular topic of the day. Now, in no way, shape, or form would I consider myself a musical critic. In no way, shape, or form would I consider myself an expert when it comes to music. I'm not. I'm here giving my thoughts. I'll say it like this. I'm a person that listens to a lot of music. I listen to a lot of music. There's always music playing or something playing around me. I just like music. I like the way music makes you feel. I love music. So this is somebody that, well, again, I'm not I'm a music critic, would never call myself that, would never say that I'm a music expert. To be completely honest, I'm not even saying whatever I'm saying you have to listen to or you have to agree with. I'm just giving my opinion on something. I also want to specify, and I want to make clear that I am a Drake fan. I'm also a Party Next Door fan. If you go back and look at my Apple wrap-up of 2024, I think the second or third most listened to album was P4. I love that album. I saw him in concert, Party Next Door. I am a Party Next Door fan. I know that It's pretty divided when you talk about Party Next Door. Either you hate him or you love him. There's really no in between. I'm on the love side. I love Party Next Door music. And I love Drake music. It's undeniable the impact that Drake has had, Drake, I'm one of the very rare people that say that Views is Drake's best album. I know people will stone me. I get it. Music is subjective. I listen to Views a lot. I have a poster of Views on my wall in my house. I love Drake's music. But there has been an issue that I've had with Drake that I couldn't really put my finger on until I listened to the collab album. Again, I'll do in parentheses, the collab album that Drake and Party Next Door dropped on Valentine's Day. Some Sexy Songs for You. Again, I'm not a movie critic. I'm not a music critic. I'm not a music expert. I'm just somebody that loves listening to music and a big fan of both of these people. I think it is incredibly difficult for Drake to make a bad album. I didn't say he can't make a bad album. I said I think it's incredibly difficult just because of the sheer talent that he possesses. I think that, honestly, Nevermind, obviously it was a different direction that he was trying to go. I don't like it at all. Again, music is subjective. So some people think that, honestly, Nevermind was a great album. I am not one of those people in the slightest. But it's hard for Drake, in my opinion, to make a bad album. That's just how talented he is. And one thing that I've been wrestling with is whether we talk about For All the Dogs, whether we talk about the collab album. I forgot what it's called. But the collab album that he did with 21 Savage was actually one of his best projects in a while. Whether we talk about Some Sexy Songs for You, whether we talk about some of the snippet or the Lucy's that he dropped, like Circadian Rhythm or, so those type of songs. It's very hard. There's been something that's missing. There's been something that just hasn't clicked, with me. Again, I'm not saying that these are bad albums, but Views, which came out in 2016, sounds drastically different from Certified Lover Boy, from For All the Dogs, from I think it started really with Scorpion. And I feel the way that I've been feeling about Drake albums more with this album than I have the Some Sexy Songs for You than I've had with any of his other albums. Her Loss. That's the one with him and 21 Savage, which is pretty good. I don't mean to compare them because I know that they had a rap beef, and I understand that, people are gonna hear me say this. He's a Kendrick. No. I'm a huge Kendrick fan. I believe in the whole big three thing: Kendrick, J. Cole, and Drake. I'm a big Kendrick fan. I'm a big J. Cole fan. I'm a big Drake fan. The beef The beef was entertaining and ain't got nothing to do with me. So I'm not gonna stop listening to somebody's music because they beefed. But when you listen to Kendrick Lamar's albums, when you listen to Section 80, when you listen to Good Kid, Mad City, when you listen to Pimp a Butterfly, when you listen to Untitled Unmastered, when you listen to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, when you listen to GNX, when you listen to Damn, they all sound different. And in a sense, they all sound like growth. Outside of maybe GNX, but not in a bad way. GNX probably feels like the most fun album that Kendrick has ever dropped. But you can hear growth. And I think that's the biggest issue. When I listen to Drake's music, I don't hear growth. And it reared its ugly head with Some Sexy Songs for You. It's not a bad album. It's a cool album. It's just cool. 21 tracks is a lot. Now, people are probably asking you, or you're probably asking yourself, Jay, you said you loved, I didn't say it on the podcast, obviously, but outside of it, I love the Weekend album, Hurry Up Tomorrow, which has 22 songs. So why am I okay with Hurry Up Tomorrow having 22 and Some Sexy Songs for You? Why am I not okay with that being 21? Well, I think Hurry Up Tomorrow is leaps and bounds better than Some Sexy Songs for Tomorrow. Oh, no, Some Sexy Songs for You, I'm sorry. I also think that 22 tracks is too long. But the songs that I feel you could ditch on Hurry Up Tomorrow are drastically better than the songs I feel you can ditch when we talk to Some Sexy Songs for You. They're okay songs. They're songs that we've heard before. And that's the issue, bro. Like, again, it's not a bad album. Please don't hear me say that it's a bad album. It's just not great. It's just a meh. It's cool. If I never heard it again, if I never heard this album, I don't think that anything. I don't think it changes the perspective of what I had for Drake. Like, it's okay. I don't think it adds to his discography. It's just, okay. Not to mention the fact that Party Next Door, which is a collab album. Party Next Door is on this album for like 5 minutes. A 21 track, hour and 14 minute album has Party Next Door for like 7 minutes. Like, what are we doing? And as much as I love Party Next Door, this is the worst singing I have ever heard him sing. That's just my opinion. I'm still a fan. I still love P4. But this is the worst. I don't know, man. It's just, to me, it's just a bunch of, it's cool. And Drake disposable songs are better than a lot of people's songs. But it's just coming off of the beef, and I feel like this is the most important time in Drake's career because you need to. I think obviously you have the people that are Drake stans or whatever, but I think it's universally felt that you lost the beef, so your next thing has to be great. And I understand the tactic of let's hit the women, let's hit the love Valentine's Day, let's try to get that base up, which I get. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a bad angle, but Some Sexy Songs for You ain't it, bro. In my opinion. Like, I look at it like this. If you're a Drake stan, all the Drake stans that I see on social media love this album. And I'm not saying they're wrong. A lot of the women that are Drake stans I love this album. But I think it's, and I always say, it's the people in the middle. Are you going to able to get the people on the fence? And it doesn't feel like this album has hit Party Next Door fence fans or Drake fence fans. So again, it's not a bad album. There's out of 21 songs, I think I can constantly go back to like 8, maybe 9, and that is an issue for me, at least. So, and the rest are just dispensable, disposable songs. And a lot of those 8 to 9 songs that I like sound eerily the same. And I do think the high point of this, which is crazy that the high point of that album is my 2 favorite songs are the songs that just has Party and Deeper and Give Me a Hug. But even in that, let's talk about growth. Drake raps about the same thing. Sings about the same. Sings about strippers and his relationship with strippers. He still messing with girls that are getting kicked out the house by their parents. He's still bringing in women and hitting women when you should be hitting somebody else, meaning you have a beef with Joe Budden. Why are you bringing Melissa Ford into it? Why don't you just go directly at Joe Budden? Or I'm not even saying you had to. You chose to do that. I don't know. It's a cool album. It's nowhere close to great. It's closer to bad than great. 8 out of 8 songs out of 21, in my opinion. If you think that's a good percentage, then hey, shout out to you. And shouts out to Drake and Party Next Door for dropping some sexy songs for you. And there you have it. That's been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I truly appreciate you guys. If you want a Popular Podcast shirt, hoodie, sweater, long sleeve joggers, a link in the description below. I have multiple different colors, multiple different designs. Get your Unpopular Podcast merch today. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to get as many subscribers as possible. If you like the content, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe. It means a lot. Also, please subscribe to the DSPs, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you get your DSPs. Please subscribe. It means a lot. Also, please follow the socials. Follow Instagram, follow TikTok. I post pretty much daily there. If you want reels, if you want stories, if you want to go back and forth, that's probably the quickest way to get to me. Please, please, please follow and subscribe. It means a lot. Until next time, much love.